Swarupine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virvava Bhumistva Nedasta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarva Bhumasri Jagannatayate Namo Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandha Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hariprini Jayatam Suratorpam Gaur Mama Mandamate Gati Matsarvasva Padam Bhojo Radha Madana Mohana Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadumada Shri Madadnagara Sinhasanasto Shri Sri Radha Srila Govinda Deva Krishtalibi Sevamano Swami Shriman Rasa Saramri Vamsi Bhakta Tatastataha Karshan Venu Swanar Gopi Gopinata Sistuna Vandai Tulasi Lila Vihai Keshavascha Krishna Bhakti Padi Devi Satchavatai Namo Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Davanala Sama Samsara Dahana We'll sing together. Davanala Sama Samsara Dahane Dagda Jiva Kula Udara Karane Karuna Bhaita Kripa Bhaidane Padise Guru Charana Kamala Padise Guru Charana Kamala Padise Guru Charana Kamala Jagita Vaja Shri Hari Kitane Rohe Ramagana Mahamata Mane Romanchaka bada karuna karo, O Vaishnava Dvaipano Viharkatarya Juhava Putra iti tanmayataya taravo vineru Tansavuta Idam Munimanatosmi Sham Sundar Shikanda Shikha Smaha Sumurli Manoya Radhika Rasikam Kripanidhe Supiyachana Kinkurim Kuru Tavaivasmi Na jivami tayamana Iti vikyaya devi tam Namam charanantikam. First of all, I offer my heart thousands and thousands of times, my Shraddha Pushpanjali, like flowers at the feet of my holy master. Asmadiya Paramaradatam Guru Pada Padma Nitya Lila Paravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtotar Satasisimat Rupanugata Varya Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands and thousands of times at the feet of my Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara, unto my Guru's Guru and his Guru and his Guru, and all the great spiritual masters in our Parampara. Finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So, by the causeless mercy of Guru and Gauranga, today we are celebrating the Varutini Ekadasi. We are observing Ekadasi today. And this also happens to be my birthday. So, in Vedic culture, the birthday of the spiritual master is called Vyasa Puja. Vyasa Puja. So, in modern times, the Vyasa Puja, in many cases, has come to be the day where Guru, spiritual master, accepts so much worship and money and very big birthday cakes from his disciples. This is not the meaning of Vyasa Puja. Vyasa Puja, the appearance day of the spiritual master, is the day in which the spiritual master engages his disciples in the worship of his own Guru Parampara. So after the class, we will offer arti to my Gurudev and do Guru Puja to my Gurudev. So, why is it called Vyasa Puja? Because the asan, the seat upon which Guru sits and tells Harikatha, that is called Vyasa Asan. The asan, the seat of Vyasadeva. Anyone should not sit on Vyasasan who has not realized the message of Vyasadeva. The Guru Parampara is the only system by which the souls in this world who are lost, who don't know themselves, who don't know God, and don't know the way out of the endless cycle of birth and death, is the only system by which they can be alleviated of all ignorance, attachments, misery, and come to the spiritual platform and realize Krishna. Just like if you're in a foreign country, you don't know your way around, then you have a GPS. So in the same way, if you want to realize God, then you need GPS, Guru Parampara system. The spiritual master does not speak from the platform of mental speculation, the creation and concoction of the mind, of the imagination, or any mundane material theory, but rather because he repeats the message of Vyasadeva, who is the compiler of the Vedas. Because he is deeply versed in the message of Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas, and because he has realization of the message of Vyasadeva. Therefore, the knowledge which comes from the spiritual master is infallible and perfect. The Guru Parampara is like a garland. So on the day of Vyasa Puja, we offer prayers to our own spiritual master, and to his master, and to his master, and to his master, all the way back to Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Because that is the channel through which this transcendental knowledge comes to us. So the Guru Parampara is like a garland. If you pull one flower out from the garland, then it's broken. And then it's no longer a garland, all flowers will fall off. So in the same way, one should not only give honor, worship and respect to one's Guru, but also to his Guru and the whole Parampara. These two, Caitanya Mahaprabhu, we do, and we remember our Parampara before Mahaprabhu also, Ishvara Puri, Madhavendra Puri, all the way back to Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedas, compiler of the Vedas, to Narad, to Brahma, and ultimately to Krishna in the beginning of the creation. This is such an essential thing. In this world, everything is changing. Everything is moving. It is like a quicksand. Nothing is solid. Even your ideas, your opinions, everything. In one time in your life you'll think like this, and then 10 years later you'll think like that. 10 years later you'll think like this again and something else. Everything is moving. Nothing is fixed, nothing is certain, nothing is for sure. But Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion of the soul, is eternal. This knowledge is eternal. It is unchanging. And only those who have realization of Krishna are fixed in that knowledge. So it's our responsibility to become attached to them. To become attached to their lotus feet. That means to adopt a spirit of selfless, non-selfish and non-duplicitous service. This spirit. To always have this spirit towards the spiritual master. It is the very nature of the material world that every soul is corrupt to the core of the heart with the spirit of exploitation. And because of this spirit of exploitation of the external world, their consciousness is going out, always going out. So they cannot realize the very beautiful transcendental form of Krishna, which is fine, very subtle, and cannot be experienced or accommodated by a consciousness which is going out into the gross material elements. And therefore, unless one has the good fortune to meet a bona fide Guru, even this is not enough. One should take shelter there. This is not enough. One should take initiation. This is not enough. One has to actually follow the teachings of the spiritual master and be absorbed continuously in the spirit of service. Then, gradually, all the anarthas, unwanted desires, attachments and ignorance in the heart will be completely dissipated. It is most essential to follow the instructions of the spiritual master with great faith and determination. Because any conditioned soul in this world does not have a clue how they will become Krishna conscious. They have no clue. Spiritual master knows how to instruct the disciple according to his stage of development. And the disciple must hold very tightly to that instruction of the spiritual master, follow it, and then more instruction will be given gradually. Just like a small child. He tasted some bread and said to his father, "Oh, my dear father, this bread is very good. I want to know how to make it." So his father said, "Okay, come with me." His father came took his child to a field, and he said, "Oh, take this plow and start plowing." So he began to plow. He was plowing for a few days, and the child said, "Where's the bread?" Father said, "Be patient." So then after that, the father bought some seeds and showed him how to put them in the earth. He put them in the earth and gave water. After a few days, the child said, "Where's the bread?" He said, "Be patient, just follow what I'm telling you." Then, after some months, then corn grew there, wheat. Wheat was growing there. And then he showed them how to cut and harvest the wheat. It was very hard work. And then child said, "Oh father, where's the bread?" He said, "Shh. Do what I'm telling you." Then he took the wheat to the mill. And it was very hard work. He showed him how to grind it and make it into flour. And after working hard, then they had some flour. And the boy said, "Where's the bread?" He said, "Shh." Then the father took the flour and mixed it with water and made a dough and lit a fire and then put the dough in the oven. The child said, "Where's the bread?" He said, "Shh." And then after a few hours, then bread came. And he gave it. And the child was very happy. Now he understood. Oh, now I understand where bread comes from. How to make bread. So in the same way, the living beings in this world, they have no idea what it takes, what is required, and how to find the bread. That is how to realize God through transcendental love. I have no idea. So many charlatans come and give a very cheap method. Oh, just give $500 and stand on your head and do this and that, and you will be enlightened in a few weeks. It's not happening. And any example cannot be found in the Vedas, where very cheaply and easily a person became perfect. Not happening. What we find in the Vedas are the examples of the disciples like Udalak and Upamanyu, Aruni, and others. Indra himself went to Lord Brahma and served for many, many years service. Slowly, after a long time, they came to understand what is Atma, what is the soul, or to speak of what is God. Therefore, it is essential to take shelter of the spiritual master with great faith and follow the instructions. If the path takes some time and is difficult for those who are following, then what to speak of those who are not following, or half following, or a quarter following? Then. So Vyasa Puja Day is the day we worship our spiritual master and worship our Parampara. My Gurudev used to say that the actual worship of Guru is not giving so many flowers. Actual worship of Guru is following his instruction. So, the birthday of Guru is celebrated as Vyasa Puja. Why? Because Guru is representing Vyasa. Srila Vyasadeva, he had compiled the 4 Vedas, the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra. Then for those who are not qualified to study a very high level of technical philosophy, he wrote the Mahabharata, which is very entertaining. And then in the Mahabharata, when it came to the climax of the story, then he gave there 700 verses in the form of Bhagavad Gita, which was the essence of all the Vedic teaching. And after doing all of these things, Vyasadeva was still not satisfied. He was not content in his heart. So his guru came, Narad Muni came to him and said, "You are not content because you have described so many paths, karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, in detail. You have told something about bhakti, but you have not compiled, you have not presented a text which is exclusively on the subject of pure bhakti, pure unmotivated devotion to God, not mixed with any other material motivations or ideas, completely uncontaminated. You have not delineated the sweetest and most beautiful pastimes of Shri Krishna and glorified the love of his highest devotees, especially the gopis of Vrindavan and especially Srimati Radhika. So if you explain all these things, then you'll be satisfied." So then with the blessing of his guru, Srila Vyasadeva, he went into trance. And in his trance, in his samadhi, he saw all the beautiful pastimes of Krishna. And afterwards, he wrote them down. It became Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the cream of all the Vedas. Sarva Vedetihasanam Saram Saram Samudritam. That means it's the cream of all the Vedas. Sarva Vedanta Saram Hi Srimad Bhagavatam Ishyate Tadra Samrita Triptasya Nanyat Syadya Drji Kochit. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of Vedanta. And if someone will taste the Amrita, the immortal, eternal, transcendental nectar of this Srimad Bhagavatam only once, they will never be satisfied with any other scripture. It is such a wonderful thing. Srimad Bhagavatam is not just a book. It is Krishna himself. Just as the Supreme Lord incarnates among the fish as Matsya Avatar. Just as the Supreme Lord incarnates among the animals as Varahadev. So he incarnates among the Shastras, among the spiritual books, in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Guru is worshipped on the birthday of Vyasa and called Vyasa Puja as the representative of that Vyasadeva, because Sri Guru is manifesting the cream of the message of the Vedas. The very essence. That essence is pure devotee to the Supreme Lord. And not only to the Supreme Lord in His features of opulence, as being omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, but devotion to the Supreme Lord in His form of sweetness, who allows living entities to come close to Him and exchange love with Him in the intimate way. Not only that, but the Guru representing Vyasadeva, giving the essence of the Vedas, presents the highest type of bhakti to that Lord in the form of sweetness. That is the love of the gopis of Vrindavan, among whom Srimati Radharani is supreme. And therefore the ultimate secret message of the Vedas is Radha Dasya. There is nothing greater than this, that the soul can attain the position of serving Sri Krishna from the position of a maid servant of Srimati Radharani. So because this is the secret essence of all the Vedas that was revealed by Vyasadeva in his final contribution in the maturity of his realization, and because Sri Guru represents Vyasadeva and gives this conclusion, then the honor of Guru on his birthday is called Vyasa Puja. Understand? The message of Srimad Bhagavatam has been most elaborately described by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Sat Sandarbha. That is called Bhagavat Sandarbha. It means 6 treatises on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavat Sandarbha. So there he is described that all the living entities in this world are in a state of forgetfulness of God. Indeed, that state of obliviousness to the nature of God, to the absence of attention, the absence of enthusiasm and devotion to serve, this is the cause of their material existence. And anything that they do, whatever they try to do or think or conjure up in their minds or philosophy, cannot remove that obliviousness to the nature of God. Even persons, they talk about God, they philosophize about God, they theologize about God. But the most they can imagine is that God is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, and therefore He doesn't need me to serve Him because He has everything. So I'm going to serve people. This is the most anyone can theologize or come up with. So what is by this? Consciousness, only consciousness of the world and imagining maybe there's something else. This will not bring one to the perfectional stage. How will the living entities actually begin to traverse the path of devotion which will take them beyond this world? This can only be affected in one way: the association of pure devotees. When we associate with a person who has realization of Krishna, at that time, then our inclination becomes awakened. Vyasadeva has described this very beautifully in Srimad Bhagavatam through the words of the king Muchukunda. Perhaps you know. Who knows the history of Muchukunda? No. He was a very powerful king, and the Devatas in the higher planets, they enlisted him in their armed forces in a war against the demons, the forces of the demons. And he fought very valiantly to help them so much to become victorious. So then, when the war was over, the Devatas said to him, "We're very satisfied with you, we want to give you a benediction. What do you want?" He said, "I'm so tired after all this fighting, I just want to sleep." So give me the benediction that I can just sleep. And if anyone will wake me up, I'll burn them to ashes with my glance. So the devatas blessed him. And they brought him down to earth, and he went into some mountains, into one cave in the mountains. And then he took his long awaited and deserved rest. He went to sleep. So he was sleeping for a long time. In the meantime, Krishna, he was staying in the city of Mathura. And Jarasandha, he came because his two daughters, Asti and Prapti, had become widows after Krishna had killed Kamsa. So he invaded Mathura, and he came with so many thousands of soldiers. But Krishna defeated them. They were all killed, except for Jarasandha. Alone he went back. Then his ministers, they were demons, they told him it was a fluke. You can still win, you can still defeat him, try again. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. So the demons gave him more advice, and he collected more armies, and again he attacked. And again he was everything was annihilated except for him. So why was Krishna doing this? Because he had appeared in the world to annihilate the demonic forces. So if he'd killed Jarasandha, it was all over. But if he just let him go, then he knows he'll be so foolish that he'll come back again and again. Because this is the nature of the demonic consciousness. That doesn't matter how many times we are mashed and defeated and we suffer, we always think, but if I just try again, I'll succeed in enjoying the material world. We just don't get it. So anyway, Jarasandha, again he came back, again 17 times. Every time his armies were annihilated. So on the 18th time, he came with 21 Akshahinis of soldiers. Can you believe it? In the whole Mahabharata war, there are only 18. Right? There's 7 on the side of the Pandavas and 11 on the side of the Kauravas. So there are only 18 Akshahinis, phalanxes of soldiers, millions of soldiers in the Mahabharata war, came with 21, and along with him came, from another side came Kalayavan. Kalayavan was outside the Vedic culture as Yavana. And he came with 30 million barbarians. So 30 million barbarians and Jarasandha and his 21 Akshahinis, they all attacked Mathura at the same time. So then Krishna came out on his chariot. And at once Kalayavan wanted to fight with him. So when Krishna came to fight with Kalayavan, he put down his weapons. And he got off the chariot. So even though Kalayavan was a barbarian, he had some pride. So those who are warriors, they don't fight someone who are, asymmetrical warfare, as they call it. They don't fight someone who doesn't have the same weapons that they have. So if someone gives up their chariot, they give up their chariot. If someone's club is broken, they'll put down their club and take out their sword, like this. So Kalayavan, he thought, oh, Krishna put down his weapons. He's got down from the chariot. He wants to fight hand to hand. Okay, let's do it. So he put down his weapons and got down also. And he ran towards Krishna. And Krishna just turned around and walked away. Warriors don't do that. Warriors don't do that. A Kshatriya, a warrior can never turn his face on the enemy and leave a battlefield. Who does that is a coward. That's called Ranchur. Krishna is famous as Ranchur. Ranchur means a coward who leaves the battlefield. So Krishna turned and he was just strolling. He was just casually strolling. And Kalayavan was running after him with full force, sprinting as fast as he could, and he was very powerful, an athletic demon. And he was running after Krishna, and Krishna was just strolling. But he could not catch him. Why? Because Krishna is the master of time and space. He can't do anything. You are thinking time and space is very, very fixed. You have your clock. You have to go to work at a particular time. and finish at a particular time. Everything's very fixed. Reality is not like this. Reality is whatever Krishna wants it to be. All existence is just only coming from the desire, from the will of Krishna. But what we think we can measure, and what is fixed, all of these things are called Maya. Maya means illusion, and Maya means mriyati iti Maya. Mriyate iti Maya. It was measured, therefore it is illusion. So he was running as fast as he could, but still he could not catch Krishna, who was just walking. And Krishna walked up a mountain and went into a cave. He walked into a cave. Yeah, it was that cave. Was the one you're thinking of. So he walked into a cave, and then finally Kaliyavan arrived there. He walked into the cave. So what's this now? He's sleeping on the floor. First he leaves, and then he goes to sleep. Why won't he fight? Kaliyavan came up and gave that person who he thought was Krishna a good kick. Get up! Of course it wasn't Krishna, it was Muchukunda. And Muchukunda woke up. And then he saw Kaliyavan, and fire came out of his eyes. And at once Kaliyavan was burnt to ashes, as per the benediction that was given by the devatas. So this is Krishna, is pretty relaxed, you know. He doesn't even have to break a sweat when dealing with 30 million barbarians. He went for a stroll, didn't even have to fight with Kaliyavan. It was all only by his desire, by his energy. So then Kaliyavan, he was actually a great devotee, and he began to offer prayers to Sri Krishna. So Srimad Bhagavatam is like this. There are many histories and personalities. I know many other things that I don't believe that. Everything in Bhagavatam is absolutely true. If you will chant Harinam and meditate, you will see it. As Vyasadeva himself saw it. Vyasadeva does not compile it is not Harry Potter. He does not fantasize and make up some fiction. He has written down what he saw in Samadhi, in his trance. Everything is perfect. If you listen to it, you will go into trance also. So Muchukunda, he began to offer prayers to the Lord, and he said, Bhavapavago janato yada bhavets janasya tayachuta satsamagama. What's the next line? Tatsangamo jahi tadaiva satgato pravareshe tvai jayate rati. He said, Oh my Lord, when the living entities who are wandering in the cycle of birth and death in the material world, when their journey of many lifetimes is about to be terminated, come to an end, that means they're about to be liberated from this world. Then at that time, they meet one of your pure devotees. Satsangamo jahi tadaiva satkato pravreshe tvai jayate riti. And at that time, at that very moment that they meet with a pure devotee, the inclination to serve God appears in the heart. After many, many lifetimes have gone by. But a very concrete, real, this is what I want to do. This feeling comes. And it cannot be attained anywhere else. Yahi tadaiva. Tada means there and then. Tada, there and then. Eva means only. In other words, only at that time, not at any other time. The divine sentiment to seek out Krishna will not come at any other time. It comes at that time when we have the association of a pure devotee, and the heart is caught and awakened somewhat. Here he said, when the living entity's journey is about to be terminated, he meets a pure devotee. But actually this is backwards. It's not that because his sojourn in the material world is about to be terminated, it's not because of that that one meets a pure devotee, but the other way around. That by meeting a realized devotee, that is the reason why one's journey in the material world will be terminated very soon. But Muchakunda Maharaj or Vyasadeva in Bhagavatam has told the cause and effect backwards. Paravareshe tvai jayate. Here, God, Krishna is called Paravareshe, means the Lord of cause and effect. He is the one who has made the system of cause and effect in this world. This is why apples grow on apple trees. Typewriters do not grow on apple trees. Why?
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect. Everything is going on according to laws of cause and effect. The entirety of all science is based on having a faith that there's such a thing as cause and effect. So God is the cause of cause and effect. And He's also making the cause and effect here. The cause of the awakening of bhakti is the association of the devotee. And the effect of the association of devotee is that awakening of bhakti. So he's called Paravareshe tvai jayate riti, means by the association of a devotee, rati. Rati means the heart becomes attached to Krishna. And that attachment to Krishna becomes the cause of one becoming liberated from the material atmosphere and entering into the eternal pure world. So, there are many mysteries in this verse. Here is said, one adjective to Paravareshe, Sadgato, is an adjective to Paravareshe, the Lord of cause and effect. Sad means the devotee, the saint. And Gato means the destiny or the goal. In other words, only those who become devotees attain the goal, or the highest goal of the association of the Supreme Lord. Another meaning of the word gato is spurti. Spurti means a momentary vision internally. So here, the Lord is called, adjective to Krishna is sadgato. The implication is that when we come into the association of persons who have seen Krishna, when we associate with them, when we honor them, when we serve them, when we listen to them, then we have a spurti of Krishna in the heart for a moment. And that is the cause of the awakening, of the inclination to serve God. That when one comes into sadhu sangha, then one has an internal experience of Krishna's presence, even if for a moment. And after that you cannot forget it. And so you have to strive again, that feeling, that realization will come, but in its all perfection and clarity. And this is why sadhu sangha is the cause of bhakti. And Krishna has said, Naham vasami vaikunte yoginam hridayeshu cha yatra gayanti madbhakta tatta tishtami narada. Krishna said, hey Narad, I don't live in Vaikuntha. That means the spiritual world. Because we know that he does. But this is he's speaking in a poetic way. He said, I don't live in Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. Then where do you stay? I don't stay in the hearts of the yogis who are meditating. We know the yogis who realize Paramatma, they see Vishnu in the heart. He said, I don't live in the spiritual world and I don't live in the hearts of the yogis. Then where do you live? Where do you stay? Yatra gayanti madbhakta tatra tishtami narad. Krishna said, I stay there, in that place where my pure devotees come together and they sing kirtan. So where the saints are singing kirtan, if anyone will come there with great honor and respect, then they will see Krishna is present there in the form of a slight spurti in the heart, and then the feeling comes, now I understand what life is for. What is the purpose of existence? It is to seek out that Supreme Lord Krishna. So, now a question comes. The question comes that we see that sometimes great devotees are traveling here and there, and the living entities have association, but they don't start the path of bhakti. Just like Narad. Narad, he's very powerful Vaishnava. He goes everywhere. On this earth, he goes to the Swargalok and other planets. But even the devatas in Swargalok, seeing Narad, sometimes they don't take up bhakti. They're enjoying. With the apsaras and so on. On the other hand, we see that Nalukuvera and Manigrief, by the association of Narad, they attain prem. Kuverat majo badha murtyaiva yadva tvai mochito bhakti bado krito cha tata prema bhaktim swakam me prayatscha na moksha graho mesti damodareha. In the Padma Purana, there is the Damodarastaka. Satyavat Rishi saying, "O my Lord, just as the sons of Kuver, that is the Nalukuver and Manigrief, by the mercy of Narad, they attain Krishna Prem. So please, give Prem, give pure love to me." So we see also that though the association of the saints is the only cause of the appearance of devotion, but still, even those who associate with saints don't always receive that seed of bhakti which will one day turn into pure love. Why? Because of aparad, because of offenses. And this is manifested in two ways. One is a direct disrespect, when one disrespects a saint. And the other one is to maintain a material conception, thinking that a sadhu is an ordinary human being. If you saw an alien, you say, "Wow, he's an alien from another planet." A sadhu is not even from another planet, from another universe. You understand? Not even from another material universe, from the spiritual sky. Not an ordinary human being. But we see with a mundane conception. So we have to see a sadhu through the ears, hearing the glories of Vaishnavas from scriptures, and see through the ears and act accordingly. Then the benefit will come. My Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj, when he was old, he was crying and saying, "I never really understood the position of my Guru." His Guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said, "When I was with him, I never realized, I never understood." But why was he crying? Because he's saying, "I never realized." But he's crying, that means that because he realized the greatness of his Guru, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Disciple must have the conviction that Srimati Radharani herself has sent my Guru to me with the express purpose of bringing me to her. This is called Guru Nishtha, faith in the spiritual master. When one has such a vision, then as soon as one begins to chant, hear, remember and serve, then progress takes place very, very rapidly. Therefore it says Guru Nishtha, the faith in the spiritual master, is the backbone, is the spine of devotion. If your spine is healthy, you can run. And if there's a slight injury to the spine, you become paralyzed and cannot move an inch. So Guru Nishtha, the faith in the spiritual master, is exactly like that. So, we are discussing this question. How is it that some persons, even having the association of Narad, but the inclination to bhakti does not come? Two things. One is, they may be disrespectful to Narad, otherwise they think he's like an ordinary person. we cannot say it is because people are sinful. If one is just absorbed in material life, even eating meat, drinking alcohol, or whatever someone is doing, this does not disqualify them. Because even persons like this can be very courteous and respectful to others. And they will also, the power of bhakti will come to them very easily if they have honor, regardless of how fallen their consciousness may be. So, we know this because you see in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 3rd canto, there's the wonderful story of Vidura. Perhaps you know Vidura was the half-brother of Pandu and Dhritarashtra. And so the wicked son of Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, he was making so much trouble for the sons of Pandu, the Pandavas. And he exiled them. He tried to burn them alive, burn their house down. He tried to give poison to them. So many problems has come. So after a long time, Krishna himself came to the palace of the Kauravas to speak to Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, and put some sense into them. Krishna said, look, you don't have to give the Pandavas their share of the kingdom. You can keep the whole kingdom. But it's their dharma, they are Kshatriyas, they are administrators. Give them one village each, so they can just do their dharma, they can just do their duty of administrating and protecting the people. Duryodhana said, I'll not give them enough land into which one can drive the head of a pin. He was extremely mean, extremely... He could become now the emperor of the whole world. He could not give 5 small villages, dusty villages in India. What is that? He was so mean. So at that time, Dhritarashtra, he was thinking what to do, and Vidura was his minister. So he asked Vidura. Vidura is very expert in diplomacy and politics. There's one Shastra, one book called Vidurniti, which is the teachings of Vidura, how to deal with practical situations in one's life. So Vidura told Dhritarashtra, he said, how long can this irreligion go on? This injustice, this wickedness? Your son Duryodhana will be the cause of the downfall and destruction of the whole dynasty. So then Duryodhana came there and he told to his father, who is this person? He wasn't exactly of the royal family, because he was born from the womb of a maidservant. Though his father was also Vyasa. Vyasa was also his father. So he said, who is this son of a maidservant? Now he's turned against us. We feed him, we clothe him, we give him everything, and now he's speaking against our family. Just throw him out of the house with nothing but the clothes he's wearing. Duryodhana was extremely mean. So then what did Vidura do? Before Duryodhana could have him thrown out of the house, he said, don't worry, I'm leaving. And he left. And he went on pilgrimage. He didn't complain. He didn't criticize anyone. He didn't complain to anyone. He thought, this is the will of Krishna. I have lost everything means what? I have lost nothing. I have lost nothing. Only Krishna himself has orchestrated a situation from which I can leave all this politics and management and everything. And I can wander from holy place to holy place and meet great saints and be absorbed always in thoughts of Krishna. So Vidura was wandering. He went to the west coast of India. He went to the bank of the Saraswati river and all the holy places along there. And gradually he made his way and came to the bank of Jamuna. And there on the bank of Jamuna, he met with Uddhav. And seeing Uddhav always stays very close to Krishna. He's Krishna's cousin. And stays with him all the time like a shadow in Dwarka. So seeing Uddhav, he was very happy. Oh, tell me, how is Krishna? How is Vasudeva and Devaki? How is Pradyumna and Aniruddha? How is Samba? How is Akrura? He was inquiring about all the Krishna's associates in Dwarka. Then Uddhav, remembering Krishna, he almost fainted. And after being in samadhi, in a trance for some time, and in his trance actually he went to the spiritual world. And then he came back into his external body or external consciousness and opened his eyes. He said, Krishna has left. All the Yadu dynasty have left. So while he was on the parikrama, on the pilgrimage going everywhere, Krishna had finished his pastimes and left this world, and he didn't know. Uddhav didn't know. And then Uddhav told him, in Krishna's last day, he went to the Prabhas, Katra there, and he gave instructions to me. You can find that in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Uddhav Sandesh, Krishna's instructions to Uddhav. Very beautiful. More beautiful than Bhagavad Gita. So wonderful. And he said, when Krishna was just about to leave, he said, Uddhav, I want you to go to Badrik Ashram. But on the way you should go to the Jamuna. And there you will meet Vidura. Then Vidura began to cry. Vidura was thinking, in this very last moment in this world, Krishna remembered me. He thought of me. And in this way his heart was melting in love for Krishna. And Vidura wanted to take instructions from Uddhav. But Uddhav said, Maitreya Rishi is nearby. He is very learned and he's older, he's a senior person. So according to etiquette you should take instructions from him. So then Vidura met with Maitreya Rishi. And he offered prayers to Maitreya Rishi. He said, Janasya Krishnad Vimukasya Daivat Adharamashīlasya Sudukitasya Anugrahaya Charantinunam Bhutani Bhavyani Janardanasya. Oh Maitreya Rishi, great souls like you are always wandering across the surface of the earth. That means never think that there is or there will ever be a time in history when pure devotees, the realized associates of Krishna, are not walking on this earth. Always there will be a few. Otherwise there's no meaning to the world. Because this whole material existence is for one purpose, to give every soul an opportunity, a chance to develop their God consciousness. And unless sadhus are there, it's impossible. That was the first point we discussed today. Unless they can meet with sadhus, that inclination towards pure devotion cannot be awakened. And so just as the universe cannot go on without the sun and the moon, so in the same way, the whole material creation, it's meaningless. It cannot go on without the presence of the enlightened saints. So he said, Anugrahayena charanti nunam bhutani bhavyani janardanasya. They're wandering here and there. For what reason? Janasya krishnad vimukasya daivat adharma shilasya sudukisasya. The living entities are vimukasya, who have their consciousness is turned away from Krishna, and because of this they're engaged in adharma, materialistic, selfish activities. They are completely lost. In order to, by meeting them, they will turn around and face Krishna and become free from all misery forever. So Srila Jiva Goswami said, based on these words of Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by Vidura to Maitreya, it's understood that being fallen, being in Maya, being irreligious, being a sense enjoyer, being whatever, like a pig on two legs, whatever a person is doing, just enjoying the world in whatever sinful way, this is not an obstacle. This is not an obstacle to receiving Krishna's mercy in the form of sadhu sangha. Sadhus are so kind. They never see who is high and who is low. who is so-called educated and so-called ignorant, who is so-called rich and so-called poor. Well, this is all only so-called. Every living entity in this world is in a state of helplessness, lost. Their money, their education, or anything cannot save them. So sadhus are wandering here and there, and when any living entity comes, and they are little respectful, little honor, then at once the mercy of Krishna is transferred through the heart of that sadhu into that living being, and the inclination to serve Krishna comes. One may pose another objection. We know that Nalukuver and Manigriv, they were offensive, because we've heard how any person can receive that awakening of God consciousness by sadhu sangha if they're respectful. But we have heard many examples of those who are even offensive and disrespectful, and still they get bhakti. So the one example is Nalukuver and Manigriv. They were the sons of Kuver. They were, obviously Kuver is very wealthy, he's the treasurer of the devatas. So as often happens, a man who works very hard and becomes wealthy appreciates the wealth because he worked hard for it. But his sons who are born with it, they take it for granted and they go wild. And usually destroy themselves by sex, drugs and rock and roll. So that's what happened to the two sons of Kuver, Nalukuver and Manigriv. They were in one very beautiful lake in the heavenly planets, enjoying with the naked, the Apsara girls, the society girls there. And they were taking drugs, they were completely intoxicated, and they were basically partying. And at that time Narad came. And Narad was walking through the forest, and as he came by, then the young women they were enjoying with, they became ashamed. And they quickly came out of the water and covered themselves. But Nalukuver and Manigriv, they were so drunk. At first they saw the young ladies running away, say, "Hey, where are you going? We haven't finished yet." And then they looked up and saw this saint coming and thought, "Oh, he's the cause of stopping our party." And they stood up in the water, and they were naked. They weren't even thinking whether they were dressed. And standing there naked, they began to abuse Narad. "What are you doing? Get out of here. Spoiling our fun." They criticized him in their drunken state. But Narad's heart was so kind. They had one redeeming feature. What is that? They were the sons of Kuver, and Kuver was a close friend of Narad. So he looked at them with great pity. He thought, "Look at this. These boys, they're from a good family, but what became of them? They're spoiling their life." And he gave them a curse. "You are standing naked, you don't even know if you're naked or dressed. Your consciousness like that of trees, so become trees." And then they began to cry. Now we have to become trees. No fun. Standing still in one place for hundreds of years, they began to cry, "Please, please, have mercy on us." So Narad said, "All right, you become trees for 100 years. And after 100 years, Krishna will appear, and by his, not direct touch, but the touch of the grinding mortar to which he is tied, then you will be liberated, and you will attain Prem." So we see that Nalukuver and Manigriv, though they were offensive, still they attained pure bhakti by the mercy of even the very sadhu they offended. What governs this? Only the will of the saint. The will of the saint governs this. And therefore it is essential. Vaishnav Seva, Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Prabhu kohe Vaishnav Seva nama sankirtan, dui karo shigra pabe Sri Krishna charan." If you want to quickly attain the lotus feet of Krishna, you have to do two things. Chant Harinam and serve pure devotees. Why? Harinam can give everything. But because of the presence of offenses, then we don't feel the power of the mantra. So along with that, one should render service to pure devotees. And when, just by their pleasure, just by their being pleased and thinking favorably towards us, then the effects of our offenses is eradicated. And then when we chant, a taste, very thick, sweet taste will come in Harinam. So, Srila Jiva Goswami said, in this way, one's liberation from this world, one's receiving the grace of God is very personal. It's on a one-on-one basis. It's not like a, whatever, a mass lawsuit, you know? Everyone files in a big group. Like that. It's not like that. It's one-on-one, one by one. Each individual must chant the holy name and overcome the offenses also by serving pure Vaishnavas. And as any pure devotee thinks of us in a very favorable way, then the clouds of offenses dissipate, and then the sun, the powerful sunshine of the pure name is manifest in the heart. This is also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Perhaps you know the history of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was a great devotee, and his father, Hiranyakashipu, tried to kill him in so many ways, but he failed. In the end, Lord Nrsingadev, he appeared and he killed Hiranyakashipu. And then Prahlad Maharaj came and sat on the lap of Krishna. It's Krishna in the form of Lord Nrsingadev. And he began to offer prayers. He offered very beautiful prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. He said, Maitunadi grihomedi sukam hitucham kandurya karayo ivaduka dukam tripyanti neha kripana bahuduka bhajam kandutivan manasijam vishaheta dhira. He said, Oh my Lord, in this world everyone is looking for happiness, but what is their happiness? It's like a skin disease. If you have a skin disease and it's itching, then you feel, oh, it's itching. And so then you want to get some relief, so then you scratch. And then when you scratch the skin disease, oh, that feels better. You know? But then when you stop scratching, what happens? It itches even more. And then you scratch again. Oh, that feels better. And then it itches even more. So then you scratch it, and then it starts to bleed. And then you have to stop scratching and just tolerate. So, in the same way, this body is a disease of the soul. The material body is not the natural. The soul has a spiritual body. But when the soul is situated in the material body, this is a diseased condition, diseased consciousness. And all the senses of this body are itching. The eyes want to see things. The tongue wants to taste chocolate, coffee. The genitals want to have sex. Like this, all the senses are itching. So we try to scratch them. That means to give sense gratification. But the problem is, the more we try to enjoy, then the more the feeling of dissatisfaction grows. And we try to enjoy again, more and more and more. Until then there's a breakdown of the body. And then one is simply suffering. So Prahlad Maharaj said, this is the condition of all the people of the world. They're suffering so much. And this itching is actually not coming from the body. It's coming from the Rajagun in the mind. Because the body is actually never really alive. It's always dead. It only appears to be alive because Pran is making it move. Like the strings of a puppet make the puppet seem to be alive. So Pran makes the body move. The body is always dead. So the agitation is not in the body. The agitation is in the mind. So he said, Kandyuti van manasijam vishaheta dhira. The materialistic person is never satisfied by repeated enjoyment, but rather they suffer more and more. And one who is sober can tolerate this itching sensation, which is just a product of the mind. Manasijam vishaheta dhira.
Just thought I'd come say hello.
Good evening.
Hi Bob, Prem. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Oh, you're just dropping in?
I've got to go, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hare Krishna.
See you tomorrow then. Radhesh.
Yeah, well, I'll see you tomorrow.
So, Prahlad Maharaj said, a person is dhira or considered to be sober if they can tolerate all the demands of the mind. And by this, gradually engaging in bhakti, these demands will completely, that is the influence of Rajagun will go away and one will become peaceful. So he said, Prayena deva munayor swabhimukti kama maunam charanti vijane na parata nishtaha. He said, oh my Lord Nishingadev, there are many persons, sadhus, on the spiritual path. And what do? Maunam charanti vijane. They go to a very solitary place where no one lives. And they observe silence. And they practice their meditation in silence. They never meet with anyone. Because they very much desire mukti, to be liberated from this world. Prahlad Maharaj said, nice. I am not like them. I am not like them. Why? Because I don't want to be liberated alone. I don't want to go out of this world to the spiritual world by myself and leave all these suffering people behind. I can't do it. Because I know that until the souls in this world take shelter of your lotus feet, they have no shelter at all. They're like refugees. A refugee cannot stay in one place. They try to go somewhere and then they're kicked out, they have to go somewhere else. And then they're kicked out of there. Then they try to go to Australia and they're kicked out of Australia, right? They go to Indonesia.
Push the boats back.
They push the boats back. So refugees are like this. They have no permanent place. So in the same way, every soul is like that. Now you are in this body. But what will happen? After some time you cannot stay. You will be kicked out. And you have to go to another body. And again. So Prahlad Maharaj said, I cannot tolerate this. He said, for myself I am happy. Because wherever I go, I experience the ecstasy of bhakti. But when I see the other people of this world suffering so much, I cannot think, my Lord, I want to be liberated alone. So I am very concerned for them. So Lord Nishingadev said to Prahlad, I want to give you a benediction. You ask something from me. Prahlad said, my Lord, those who pray to God and ask for anything, they are businessmen, they are not devotees. Those who want something from you, they're just like merchants. They are stockbrokers. They have no love at all. They're not religious even. He said, I serve you only for your happiness. I don't want anything. Lord Nishingadev said, I'll be happy if you accept a benediction from me. So please, accept some benediction. Prahlad Maharaj said, I pray that you give me the benediction that in the core of my heart I'll have no material desire or attachment at all. Lord Nishingadev said, this is not a benediction for you because your heart is already pure. Ask for another benediction. Prahlad Maharaj said, then please give me the benediction that my father, so many ways, tried to torture me, that he will not suffer on account of his offenses to me. Lord Nishingadev said, this is also not a benediction because you are a pure devotee. If someone is in the beginning stage of bhakti, Kanishta Adhikari, then only by beginning bhakti, 7 generations of their family become liberated. And if someone comes to the intermediate level of bhakti, a Madhyam Adhikari, 14 generations of their family are liberated. And if someone becomes a Uttam Adhikari, the highest level of devotee, like Prahlad, 21 generations are liberated. Prahlad doesn't even have 21 generations, it's Satyayug. His father is Hiranyakashipu, and his father is the Kasyapa and Diti, and Kasyapa's father is Swayambhuva Manu, and his father is Brahma, and that's it. Brahma's the first one, so he doesn't even have 21 generations. What does that mean? Does that mean that Lord Nrsimhadev told a lie? He said 21 generations. No, it means that even the ancestors from the previous creation, from the previous day of Lord Brahma. Because the universe begins in the Satyayuga and then it's... So from the previous creation, his generations from that time, they're all liberated. So Lord Nrsimhadev said, so liberation for your father, it goes without question. Again, ask for a benediction. So then Prahlad Maharaj, he said, I don't want to be liberated alone. Please, give me the karmas, the sinful reactions of all the living entities in the universe. And I will stay here and suffer all their karmas and let them all be free. So Lord Nrsimhadev said, you have defeated me. I cannot do that. Because of his love for Prahlad. I cannot do that, but I give this benediction. If anyone will recite your prayers and remember this conversation of ours, then all their karmas will gradually be diminished and they'll be liberated from this world. He gave this benediction. So you have heard, you have perhaps heard this katha before. I know some of you have been devotees for 30 years, 40 years. But what is the deep meaning behind this? The deep meaning is that the mercy of Krishna coming to us through pure devotees is the individual. It's individual. See, Prahlad Maharaj said, let everyone be liberated. But it doesn't work like that. It's individual. And therefore, when Lord Nrsimhadev said, if anyone will recite these prayers that you have offered, and remember us, our conversation, for all times in the future, that means everyone in this room, then they'll all be liberated. So the inner meaning of this is according to Kaimotik Nyaya, the logic of Kim Uta, means if even those who remember Prahlad and Nrsimha and their conversation are liberated, then what to think, what to speak of those persons that Prahlad was thinking of in his mind at that moment. You see, when Prahlad said liberate everyone, it would not be possible for him to think of, to personally remember every single being in the universe at that time. He could only think of those that he knew in his life and those who were close to him. So it is said in this verse, Naitan vihaya kripanan. I cannot give up these. I cannot give up these wretched persons who are lost in the world. Naitan vihaya kripanan. So Naitan means these. In Sanskrit, this is a pronoun which refers to, you can say, it's like this and that. You can say these and these, but Naitan means that which is close to you. So by this word, Prahlad Maharaj is indicating the persons he knows, the persons who are close to him. He can think of them, but he can't possibly think of everyone because he doesn't know everyone. Like that. So the reason Lord Nrsimha said, I cannot do this, is because the principle is that the liberation that comes by the mercy of a devotee is on an individual basis. Understand? This is the meaning of this conversation with Lord Nrsimha. So anyone Prahlad Maharaj remembered at that time, they were definitely liberated. And on top of that, Lord Nrsimhadev said, and if someone hears this discussion about us, they can also go. As well. But they'll hear from whom? From sadhu. So in this way, we are discussing the significance of Guru Parampara. When we come in contact with the pure devotee, there it's necessary to take shelter, to take initiation, and follow the instructions. One may do everything, but if one is not following the instructions, then the spiritual master will not be pleased. And only by the pleasure of the spiritual master, by his happiness, then the effects of previous lives, apparatus and everything are dissipated. And then when we chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare, then the glory of the divine name is manifested. Gaura Premanande. So now I want to do Guru Puja to Gurudev. Can you offer the arti to Gurudev? Yeah? So Gurudev's picture is here, all the arti paraphernalia is here. You offer arti, you play harmonium. And if you have songbooks, someone can take my songbook too.